You don't actually want to fix the cabinet door. You want a problem you can still win. Because everything that mattered already stopped asking for your help. Look at him. 48 years old, standing in the fastener aisle, holding a $4 hinge like it's a decision and not a part. He's done this before, he'll do it again, and he calls that being thorough. Watch the way he turns it over in his hand, slow, deliberate, like a man reviewing a contract he has no intention of signing. You know that feeling, when you reorganize your entire desk to avoid sending one email? When you'd rather research the perfect solution for 3 hours than spend 10 minutes actually doing the thing? That's the room he's standing in right now. He just dressed it up as a Saturday errand. Here's the shadow nobody's naming. The cabinet at home has hung crooked for 9 months. He has stood in this exact aisle 4 times to solve it. 4. And every time he drives home empty-handed and feels strangely accomplished. Because the broken hinge isn't the problem he's avoiding. The broken hinge is the hiding place. He doesn't need the part. He needs the part to stay broken. Because as long as it's broken, he's a man with a plan. And a man with a plan never has to ask what happened to the man he was supposed to become. On paper, this is a healthy Saturday. A responsible adult doing maintenance on his home. The mask is flawless, the competent guy, the one who handles things, the project manager who shows up and gets it sorted. The reality is a man who drove 20 minutes to stand still. He treats a hinge like a deliverable. He picks it up, reads the back of the package, load rating, screw spec, finish, sets it down exactly where it was, facing the same direction it was facing. Like the shelf is taking inventory, like someone is grading the alignment. And the lie he tells himself is so clean it almost sounds like wisdom. He says, out loud, in his own head, in that flat project manager monotone, I just want to get the right one this time. This time. As if the last 3 times were data collection. Notice the loop, because it's airtight. He researches the part. He compares the part to the part beside it. He photographs the part, for reference. Then he drives home without the part. And somewhere on the highway he feels it. That small, warm hit of productivity. The feeling of progress. The feeling that he's almost there. He filed a ticket. He moved it to in progress. He just didn't, technically, do anything. Have you ever noticed how the busiest looking people are sometimes the ones running the hardest from the one thing on the list that actually counts? That's him. Bottom line, a man who has almost fixed something for 9 months is not preparing. He is not being careful. He is not a craftsman waiting for the right moment. He is hiding, inside the preparation. And the worst part, the part he won't let himself see under these lights, is that the hinge is winning. It's giving him exactly what he came here for. Not a repair, an appointment, a reason, a small, fixable thing he can keep almost solving, so he never has to stand in a finished house and listen to how quiet it's gotten. He'll be back next Saturday. Same aisle, same hinge, same plan. So let's run the autopsy. Let's open him up under these lights and see what's actually moving in there. Here's the story he'd tell you if you asked him at the desk. He's being thorough. Measure twice, cut once. A man who rushes a job does it twice. That's just good engineering. He pulls out his phone and types the cabinet measurements into the Notes app. Careful, precise, professional. Never noticing the identical measurements he typed into that same app 3 months ago, sitting right there above the new ones. 2 sets of numbers, same cabinet. He doesn't see the duplicate, he just feels diligent. And honestly, for a second it almost passes as wisdom, discipline, the mark of a careful man. Don't nod yet. Because here's what the open project actually buys him. As long as that hinge stays unfixed, he is still a man with something to do, something he can do, something with a load rating and a screw spec and a clean, bounded solution. That's the payoff. That's the whole transaction. The crooked cabinet is a permanent appointment with competence, and he keeps that appointment on the calendar because the alternative terrifies him. What's the alternative? The silence on the other side of done. Picture it. He installs the hinge, the cabinet hangs straight, and then the house goes quiet. And that finished door turns and asks him a question he can't expense. What are you going to fix next? Because the big things don't take a $4 part. The career that froze in place years ago, stalled out like a Q4 projection nobody wants to reforecast. The marriage that didn't end, it just went quiet, the way a server goes quiet when nothing's been requesting it. Those don't have a load rating. Those he can't solve in 11 minutes in the garage. A solvable problem is the last place he still feels like the man he meant to become. And this is where you stop nodding, because you do it too. You keep one broken thing within reach so you never have to look at the one you can't fix. Now the worst pass. The engine underneath it all. Every Saturday he doesn't buy the hinge, he renews the lease on a very specific feeling that something is wrong but workable, manageable, in progress. And that renewal, that is the entire point. The cabinet was never the project. The deferral is the project. Here's the cost already paid, in real terms, not poetry. He spent years, actual years of an actual life, converting his ambition into a backlog of tiny tasks, small enough to swipe away like an unread Slack DM. The big dreams got triaged down into errands, and the crooked door is just the one ticket still visible on the board. That's the tragedy nobody warned him about. His ambition didn't die, it got demoted, one small repair at a time. He is not a busy man with a to-do list. He is a man who manufactures the list, so he never has to reach the bottom of it. So now the math runs, 3 doors. He's standing in aisle 7, but inside he's scoping 3 different projects at once, and you can watch the cost-benefit grind behind his eyes like a spreadsheet refusing to load. Door A. He buys the hinge, just does it, walks it to the register, drives home, pulls the drill, and installs it in 11 minutes flat. And for 10 of those minutes, it's clean. The door hangs straight, the gap closes, and he feels that hit, the clean, green checkmark hit of a closed ticket, a thing requested and delivered. That's the oxygen. That's why it's so tempting right now. But here's the invoice that doesn't arrive for 6 months. Because the relief had a half-life of an afternoon. By Sunday night it's gone, and he's already scanning the baseboards for the next loose thing, the next small repair, building a quiet rotation of fixable nothings just to keep the larger emptiness staffed. He'll tell himself the cleanest lie in his whole inventory. See, I handle things. When the truth is that handling the small thing is precisely the maneuver that lets him never touch the big one. And who eats that cost? The strangers he'll never meet. The version of himself who could have had a free Saturday, and the kid at the returns desk who'll ring up the next 3 projects he buys to stall the exact same hour. Door B. He turns, looks at the contractor's desk at the back of the store, the one with the laminated handyman rates and the clipboard, and he imagines walking up and booking it all, the whole list, every deferred repair surrendered in one transaction. The immediate payoff is bizarre, a strange lightness, like setting down a bag he forgot he'd been carrying for years, shoulders lifting before he even reaches the counter. But run the projection. 6 months out, the list is gone, cleared, and the Saturdays stretch open in front of him, empty and accusatory. And that's when he finally understands the part he never modeled correctly. The projects were never the burden. They were the alibi. With the alibi gone, there's no excuse left not to feel the full square footage of his own free time. The lie he'd whisper at that desk, "I'm finally delegating like a smart man," when really he's just running a stress test on himself, checking whether he can survive having nothing left to fix. And who pays first? Robert. Then a quiet second invoice goes to the contractor who shows up to a house where the homeowner hovers, watching him work with the flat stare of a man being evicted from his own hobby. 2 doors scoped, 2 invoices already drafted, and both of them bill him for the same thing, the appointment he can't bear to close out. So watch what he actually does. Watch where his hand goes. And then door C, the one he's already standing in. He sets the hinge down, same spot, same direction, and tells himself he'll order the better one online. Premium finish, free shipping. He pushes the empty cart toward the corral, and the payoff is immediate and warm. Nothing changed, nothing risked. The appointment with the broken cabinet stays right there on the calendar where it lives. But the slow cost is the cruelest one on the board, because there is no invoice, there's just compounding. 6 months from now, he is the exact same man, in the exact same aisle, only a little more certain that this is simply who he is now. A guy who means to get to it. The lie is 2 words. Next weekend. The 2 most expensive words he owns. And who pays for door C? The stranger pushing past him in aisle 7 right now. The one who has no idea he's looking at his own next 20 years. And the afternoon itself, spent and unrecoverable. Because at the end of the day, the only thing he ever actually repaired was his excuse. He sits in the parked car, engine off. The afternoon spread out in front of him, receiptless, unbillable. And his hand is still curled around the shape of a decision it never picked up, closed around a hinge that isn't there. He runs the 3 doors one more time, the fix, the surrender, the next weekend. And he feels the flinch on all 3, because each one costs him the same thing, the appointment, the reason, the small, fixable proof that he's still a man who can solve something. So he just sits, watching the automatic doors slide open and shut for other people. Other men who came to buy a thing and bought it. The door is unlocked. He could go back in right now, or drive home to nothing. Here's the only question that matters tonight. Which one are you keeping broken, on purpose, because you already know its name? You just haven't said it out loud yet.